Carl Jung, one of the greatest explorers of the human psyche, taught us that the way we live our relationships isn't a superficial matter. It's a deep reflection of our inner world. For Jung, love wasn't just a fleeting emotion. It was a path to self-discovery, a process of individuation where true love can only flourish once we've come face to face with ourselves. If you've ever wondered why some relationships seem to fill you with life, while others drain you to the point of questioning your own worth, it's because the love we experience externally mirrors the love we have for ourselves. So often, we seek in others the validation we deny ourselves, the affection we don't know how to give ourselves, or the security we're afraid to build on our own. Jung warned us about this. When we hand our power over to someone else, when we let our emotions hinge on another person, we lose touch with our own essence. From childhood, we're taught to chase external approval. We learn that love is something to be earned, that we need to act a certain way to deserve it, that we must fit into specific molds to be accepted. But here lies one of the great traps of the human psyche. In trying to please others, we disconnect from our authenticity. Over time, this disconnection leads us to attract relationships that reinforce our lack of self-love. We end up with people who don't value us, who make us feel inadequate, who force us to twist ourselves to meet their expectations. Jung spoke of the shadow, that part of ourselves we hide because it doesn't fit the image we want to project. In relationships, this shadow shows up in repetitive patterns, irrational fears, the need for control, or the dread of being alone. The more wounds we bury, the more power they hold over our choices. Many people cling to relationships that hurt them because deep down, they believe it's what they deserve. They grew up thinking love is supposed to hurt, that you have to suffer to be loved, and without realizing it, they unconsciously seek out experiences that confirm that belief. This is where dignity comes in. Dignity isn't arrogance or empty pride, it's the recognition of your own worth. It's knowing you don't need to beg for attention, that you don't have to justify your existence or bargain with your self-esteem to be loved. When your dignity is unshakable, you stop attracting relationships built on fear, neediness, or dependency. You start vibrating at a different frequency, one where only those who respect and value you for who you truly are can find a place in your life. But this doesn't happen overnight. Jung told us that the process of individuation, the journey toward integrating our whole self, is a path that demands introspection, courage, and above all, honesty. Ask yourself, how many times have you stayed in a relationship out of fear of being alone? How many times have you let someone cross your boundaries because you were scared of losing them? How many times have you betrayed your own essence to avoid conflict? Each time you did, your unconscious logged the message that your worth is negotiable, that you need to compromise yourself to be loved. And as long as you keep believing that, you'll keep encountering relationships that test you. But when you decide to change, when you dare to look at yourself with love and say, "I am enough as I am," the world around you starts to shift. The people who used to overlook you fade away, the bonds held together by manipulation crumble, and little by little, the relationships that enter your life reflect the new image you hold of yourself. Not because there's some magic at play, but because you've stopped settling for less than you deserve. Here's where many people stumble. They think setting boundaries and respecting themselves means losing those who won't accept them. But Jung taught us that losing people who can't love our authenticity isn't a loss. It's a liberation. Because when you stand firm in your dignity, in your truth, in who you really are, then and only then will a love arrive that isn't rooted in fear, dependency, or sacrifice, but in mutual respect and true soul connection. Authentic love isn't an illusion, but to experience it, we first have to look within. Jung taught us that relationships are mirrors of our own psyche. Every person who enters our life reflects something from our inner world. If you keep attracting relationships that hurt you, make you feel inadequate, or demand that you change to be accepted, it's because, on some deep level, you haven't yet given yourself the love and validation you're seeking from others. It's not easy to accept this. It's more comfortable to think we've just had bad luck, or that the people around us are the ones at fault. But Jung challenged us to go deeper, to examine our own shadows and realize that what we reject in others is often a reflection of what we haven't integrated in ourselves. Why did you stay in that relationship that dimmed your light? Why did you hold on to someone who didn't give you the place you deserved? It's not random. It's a projection of your own beliefs about love and the worth you think you have. The unconscious mind is powerful, and what we don't resolve within ourselves repeats in our reality over and over until we learn the lesson. If deep down you feel you don't deserve steady, respectful love, you'll attract the opposite, not because you want it, but because it's what your unconscious still holds as true. Here's the key. It's not about changing others, it's about changing the relationship you have with yourself. When someone starts working on their dignity, when they look in the mirror and choose to love themselves despite their wounds, something shifts energetically. The vibration of guilt, fear, and neediness begins to fade, giving way to a different energy, calmer, more confident, more aligned with their true essence. Jung called this the process of individuation, the path to integrating all parts of our being, the light and the dark. This process isn't instant, and it's not easy. The mind resists change because it prefers the familiar, even if the familiar is painful. That's why so many people fall back into the same patterns again and again. The fear of the unknown can outweigh the desire to heal. But if you have the courage to face yourself, if you let yourself see where those beliefs you've carried for so long come from, then you have the chance to break the cycle and build something different. This is where the power of choice comes in. Jung said our fate isn't set in stone, that we're not puppets of the universe, but co-creators of our reality. The moment you decide to stop settling for less than you deserve, the moment you say enough to what steals your peace, you're taking control of your life. It's an act of self-love, and at the same time, a clear signal to the universe that you're ready for something different. When you make that choice, some people might not get it. Those used to seeing you give in might pull away. Those who manipulated you might try to make you doubt yourself. But this isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're healing, that you're marking a before and after in your story. Not everyone can join you on this journey, because not everyone is ready for love based on mutual respect and authenticity. What Jung taught us is that the quality of our relationships is directly tied to the quality of the relationship we have with ourselves. If you don't tolerate lies, manipulation, or abuse from others, it's because you've learned not to allow it in yourself. If you refuse half-hearted love, it's because you've learned to give yourself wholehearted love. And when you reach this level of awareness, you no longer need to chase love, because the right love finds you on its own. That's when true connections start to show up, not from need, not from emptiness, but from the fullness of being who you really are. When you don't bend your dignity to fit into someone else's life, you attract those who truly resonate with you. Relationships where respect doesn't need to be asked for because it's mutual. Where love doesn't need to be begged for because it flows naturally. Where there's no fear of being yourself because the other person sees and accepts who you truly are. This isn't just theory, it's something you can feel and experience when you dare to let go of what no longer aligns with you. In that emptiness, in the space left behind when you release what doesn't belong to you, that's where life surprises you. That's where true love finds its way to you, but it doesn't happen by chance. It happens because your energy has shifted, because you're no longer trying to fill voids with someone else, but sharing your fullness with someone who's done the same inner work. The relationships that come into your life aren't random, they're reflections. And when your reflection is that of someone who respects themselves, values themselves, and doesn't betray themselves, you'll only attract those who can meet you at that same frequency. Love isn't something you should have to beg for or force. Jung taught us that the more we try to control something, the more it slips through our fingers. So many people spend their lives trying to make others love them, adjusting to what they think will make them more desirable, molding their personality to fit into someone else's world. But when love comes from need, it stops being love and turns into dependency. And dependency only leads to suffering. True love isn't about filling gaps or finding someone to complete us. It's about two people who've learned to be whole on their own and choose to walk together without losing themselves in the process. But to get there, it takes inner work, a deep exploration of who we are and what we believe we deserve. Most people search for love without ever finding themselves, and that's why they end up trapped in relationships that don't bring them joy. Jung said the key to healthy relationships is individuation, the process of integrating all parts of ourselves. We can't expect someone else to respect us if we don't respect ourselves. We can't demand love if we still struggle to love ourselves, and we can't attract someone who values us if, deep down, we still doubt our own worth. Life gives us back what we project, and if our energy is full of insecurity and fear, we'll attract relationships that mirror exactly that. The trouble is, we often confuse love with attachment. We think we need someone to feel complete, to give us purpose, to keep us from being alone. But this is one of the unconscious mind's most dangerous traps. When someone becomes our everything, we become nothing without them, and that's when fear creeps in. Fear of losing them, fear of being abandoned, fear that without their love, we won't be enough. But love should never be a source of anxiety. If you feel insecure in a relationship, if you live in fear of it ending, it's not love, it's dependency. Fear makes us compromise, makes us accept less than we deserve, pushes us to stay in places where we're no longer happy. And this is where dignity plays a crucial role. When someone has worked on themselves, when they've learned to value themselves, their energy shifts. They no longer accept crumbs. They don't tolerate disrespect. They don't settle for what doesn't fulfill them. Not because they've become picky or arrogant, but because they've realized their peace and well-being aren't negotiable. People who love themselves don't seek relationships to fill voids. They seek to share their fullness. They don't get caught up in control or manipulation because they don't need to control or be controlled. They don't play games with the fear of abandonment because they know being alone isn't a punishment. It's a chance to keep growing. And that's why they attract different relationships, ones where love flows without pressure, without games, without the need to prove anything. When someone respects themselves, those unwilling to respect them fall away. And while that might feel like a loss at first, it's really a blessing. Because every time you hold on to a relationship that isn't for you, you're closing yourself off to something better. Letting go isn't easy. We've been taught to believe relationships fail when they end, when in reality, they fail when they make us lose ourselves. Clinging to what no longer serves us is the ultimate act of self-sabotage. It's normal to feel afraid of letting go. The ego clings to what's familiar, even if it hurts. But Jung reminded us that growth only happens when we dare to step into the unknown. When we let go, when we allow ourselves to close cycles, when we stop trying to control what's not in our hands, that's when life surprises us with what we truly need. And this doesn't just apply to romantic love, it applies to all our relationships. If you're surrounded by people who don't value you, who don't respect your time, your energy, or your emotions, it's a sign there's still inner work to do. Because when you learn to set boundaries, when you stop giving your energy to those who don't appreciate it, you start attracting a completely different circle. One where respect and love don't need to be asked for, they're given naturally. Jung taught us that everything in our lives reflects our inner world. If you keep attracting conflict-filled relationships, if you keep repeating the same patterns, it's not because you're doomed to suffer, it's because there's something inside you that hasn't healed yet. And until you do that work, the story will repeat itself like an endless loop. But when you decide to change, when you commit to yourself, when you decide your peace matters more than any relationship that drags you down, that's when everything starts to transform. Because when your dignity stands firm, only those who know how to truly love can reach you. And when that happens, love stops being a struggle, stops being a game of tactics and manipulation, and becomes what it was always meant to be: a space for growth, respect, freedom, and true connection. When you start living from your authenticity, relationships stop being a battle. You no longer have to prove your worth or convince anyone you're lovable because you've realized true love can't be forced. Jung said that when we align with our deepest self, the right things come to us without chasing them. What's meant for you flows, what isn't fades away. And though the ego might resist, though fear might cling to what's familiar, your soul always knows when it's time to let go. Society has taught us that love is about sacrifice, enduring, proving we're willing to do anything for the other person. But this idea of love is destructive. It makes us forget that real love shouldn't ask you to betray yourself. It's not about how much you can endure. It's about how much you value yourself to not accept less than you deserve. If a relationship demands you dim parts of yourself, tolerate disrespect, or beg for attention, it's not love. It's a reflection of an inner void you haven't yet healed. Jung talked about integrating the shadow, how all the parts of ourselves we deny end up showing up in our reality. If deep down you believe you're not enough, you'll attract people who make you feel that way. If you fear abandonment, you'll cling to those who keep you guessing about their presence. But when you become aware of this, when you face your shadow instead of running from it, you realize you don't have to keep repeating the same patterns. You can choose differently. You can choose yourself. The most important love you can build is self-love. Not a love rooted in arrogance or extreme self-reliance, but a love born from respect for yourself, connection to your essence, and the understanding that your happiness can't depend on someone else. When you build your inner world from balance, you stop attracting unbalanced relationships. When you learn to be at peace with yourself, you stop tolerating bonds that only bring chaos. And when you decide your dignity isn't negotiable, the power dynamics in your relationships shift entirely. Many people think love is a matter of luck, that finding someone who truly values us is a stroke of fate. But Jung taught us that what we call fate is often just our unconscious playing out. If you haven't worked on yourself, if you haven't faced your fears and wounds, you'll keep attracting what resonates with your inner state. It's not bad luck. It's an invitation to look inside, to question what part of you is still holding on to those dynamics and what you can do to change them. The shift starts the moment you stop settling, when you decide you don't need to fight for love, that you don't have to convince anyone you're worthy of it. When you realize the right person will never make you doubt your value or feel like you need to be someone else to earn their affection. Steady, respectful love comes when you give yourself that respect. When you set clear boundaries and stop trading your peace for the fear of being alone. But this process means facing discomfort. It means learning to say no, walking away from what doesn't add to your life, letting go of external validation, and finding it within yourself. And though it might feel tough at first, though fear might try to pull you back, the result is freeing. Because once you taste the peace of living from your authenticity, you won't trade it for anything. You no longer need to play a role to fit in. You no longer seek love in places where there's only lack. When your energy changes, your world changes. The people who don't align with your new self start to drift away. And while that might feel like a loss at first, it's really a necessary clearing. You can't receive something new if you're still holding on to the old. You can't attract the love you deserve if you keep tolerating what doesn't fulfill you. It's a natural process, but it takes trust. Trust that letting go of what doesn't serve you is what opens the door to what you truly need. Life responds to the energy you put out. If you vibrate in lack, you'll attract more lack. If you vibrate in fear, you'll attract more situations that feed that fear. But if you vibrate in self-love, respect, and dignity, you'll attract people and experiences that mirror that same energy. It's that simple. You don't need to chase anything, just become what you want to attract. And when that happens, love stops being a mystery, stops being a struggle. Because true love never puts you in a place of pain or doubt. True love arrives when you're no longer desperately searching for it, when you simply open yourself to receiving it in its purest form. And when your dignity stands firm, only the best finds its way to you. The love that comes when you hold your dignity high is entirely different from anything you've known before. It's not a love rooted in need, anxiety, or the constant fight to be enough. It's a love that flows from calm, from the certainty that you're valuable as you are, without needing to prove anything or force things that don't come naturally. It's a love that doesn't demand destructive sacrifices or ask you to lose yourself to keep it alive. When you reach this level of awareness, relationships stop being a source of suffering and become a path to growth. You start surrounding yourself with people who respect you, who lift you up, who align with your energy. And most importantly, you stop attracting bonds that drain you, because there's nothing left in you that resonates with those dynamics. This doesn't mean everything will be perfect. It means you now have the tools to tell what builds you up from what tears you down. You're aware that your well-being comes first, and that genuine love will never leave you feeling weak or in pain. Jung taught us that the process of individuation, of knowing and accepting all parts of ourselves, is the key to a full life. It's not a destination we reach overnight. It's a journey we walk with every choice we make. And one of the biggest choices you can make is to choose yourself, to respect yourself, to not give your power away, and to live with the certainty that the best will come when you're aligned with your truth. It's no accident you're hearing this now. Something inside you knows it's time for a change. Time to let go of what doesn't serve you and open up to what you truly deserve. Trust yourself. Trust that every step you take toward your authenticity brings you closer to the life you really want to live. And remember, when your dignity is unshakable, the love that comes isn't just any love. It's a love that respects you, values you, and pushes you to be the best version of yourself. If this message hit home for you, I'd love for you to join this community. Drop a comment below. Tell me what part impacted you the most, what experiences you've had with relationships that tested your dignity, or what choice you're making today to put yourself first. Every comment, every interaction helps this message reach more people who need it. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next video. And if you know someone going through their own transformation, share this with them. Maybe, like you, they're searching for answers, and this could help them see things in a new light. Together, we can spread this knowledge and help more people live from their authenticity. Because when we shift our energy, we shift our lives. And when more people wake up to this truth, the world changes. Thanks for being here, for sharing this space, and for being part of this journey of growth. I'll see you in the next video.